The year is 2012 and all of your favorite Let's Players are playing RPG horror games. These games were huge back in the day. If you watched Let's Players during this era, you could probably easily name a few RPG horror games. We ate these games up. And looking back, I can see why. They were easy enough for anyone to play, they had interesting stories and characters, and they were actually scary. These games were kind of iconic. Today, I want to revisit these classic RPG horror games, though not just for nostalgia reasons. Though that is part of it. I want to figure out which one of these games is the best. Which one of these games shines above all the others? If you could recommend only one of these games to someone, which one would it be? Today, I want to crown one of these games as the king of classic RPG horror games. Now, there were a lot of RPG games that Let's Players played back in the day, but I narrowed it down to the 5 that I remember seeing the most. These were the most popular and the most played, so it only makes sense that the title of Best Classic RPG Game goes to one of these. I apologize in advance if your favorite is not on this list. It was really hard to narrow it down to 5. Now, we are going to base this strictly off the original game. I know a lot of these games have had remakes, manga, spin-off content, and so much more, but we are just going with the OG classic versions that everyone was playing back then. Alright, let's revisit these games and decide which one is the best. But first, the disclaimer. Please do not take this video as a serious review. I'm not here to critique the gameplay or the story. I just want to take a nice trip down memory lane and revisit these games with you all. So if you're looking for an actual review that critiques these games and goes in depth on the story, this is not the video for you. We're just here to have some fun. Okay, disclaimer over. Let's jump into the first game on the list. I loved Ib so much when I was 14. Also, I've heard both Ib and Ebe. I hear Ebe more, so that's the pronunciation I'm going with. Anyway, this is one of those games that I would watch as many YouTubers play as possible. I wanted to see everyone's reaction to it. So this is a game about a little girl named Ebe going to an art museum with her parents. This is specifically an art museum for the artist Garry. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, okay? I'm trying here. Ebe heads off on her own to look at the art when she suddenly finds herself in a twisted, horrifying version of the museum. All of the other guests have disappeared and the artwork has come to life. Ebe must solve puzzles and run away from the evil works of art to escape the terrifying museum. As she makes her way through the gallery, she learns that Garry wanted to impart his own spirit into his creations. It seems he succeeded, but it created this fabricated world, aka the haunted museum. Eventually, Ebe happens upon a collapsed man. Everyone say hello to best boy Garry! Yeah! I loved Garry so much back in the day. I thought he was so cute, and I mean, how could I not? Look at him. Garry is a man in his 20s who is also pulled into the fabricated world. Ebe saves him and he joins her. The two become pretty close on their journey. Garry helps Ebe and looks after her when she collapses. They form this cute little friendship. And then Mary shows up. Mary is a girl around Ebe's age who claims to also be a guest of the gallery that got pulled into this world. She joins the group and they happen upon a room full of what looks like cute bunnies. The girls love them, but Garry says they're not cute at all. Garry gets split up from the girls and searches for a way to meet back up with them. He goes back into the room with the bunnies, but to Garry, they don't look like bunnies at all. They're horrifying dolls. This shows that the world is starting to have an effect on Ebe. It wants her to stay and is warping her perception of things to make the museum seem like a nice place. Or if you're me at age 14, you think that this means that Garry is going crazy. Yeah, not my smartest moment. Then Garry finds a book that states that Garry's last work of art was a painting named Mary. Oh no! He rushes back to Ebe to warn her that Mary is actually one of the pieces of art come to life. She was using them to try and escape to the real world. In fact, there are several bad endings where Mary escapes into the real world in place of either Ebe or Garry so she can live a normal life. Mary hunts them down, and the only way to stop her is by burning her painting and killing her. Ebe and Garry find a painting that will lead them back to the real world if they go through it. Garry jumps through, but before Ebe can, a fake version of her mother appears. She tries to convince Ebe to stay and lure her back into the museum, but Ebe sees through this and jumps through the painting with Garry. Back in the real world, Garry seems to have forgotten everything. That is until he realizes that he has Ebe's handkerchief, which she gave him after he was injured when burning Mary's painting. He says that he's going to clean it for her and return it, promising to see each other again. I love their friendship so much, it's so cute. In Mad Father, you play as a little girl named Aya. She loves her father very much. She also loves her mother, but sadly, she passed away some time ago. Aya's father has a secret that he thinks Aya doesn't know about, but in reality, she knows. He's a mad scientist who kidnaps people, kills them, and turns them into dolls alongside his assistant, Maria. Yet that is a bit of a hard secret to keep. I don't know how he thought he was getting away with that one. One night, this man, Ogre, appears and tells Aya that there is currently a curse on their home. All of those that Aya's father killed have come back as undead monsters to seek revenge on him. Aya knows what her father does is wrong, but she loves him and wants to save him. She makes her way through the house looking for him, and let me tell you, you die a lot in this game. Anything and everything can kill you. And every time you die, you have to hear this scream. It gets old really quick. As you progress through the game, you learn that something went down between Aya's parents, and it may have something to do with her mother's death. You also discovered that the assistant, Maria, was kidnapped by Aya's father, but he decided to keep her around after realizing she's talented in the medical field. Maria developed Stockholm Syndrome and fell for Aya's father, and the two began an affair. Eventually, Aya finds the ghost of her mother trying to kill her father. Aya decides to save her father, even though she interacted with countless ghosts throughout the night that were brutally killed by him. But whatever, okay, she's a little girl and it's her father, okay, fine. However, after saving him, she learns the truth. Aya's father believes that she will make the most beautiful doll of all. He wants her to be his next victim. Her mother learned this and tried to stop him, so he killed her. You know, Mrs. Aya's mom, that is really great that you wanted to save your daughter, but I can't help but notice that you didn't want to help the dozens of other people that your husband kidnapped and killed. You were just okay with all of those ones, but now that it's someone you know, it's personal. Now that Aya knows the truth, she tries to escape from her father, but he chases after her. I really can't tell if this is scary or just plain goofy. I think the answer might be both. Right before he's about to kill Aya, a knife flies into his side and he dies. Aya was saved by Maria, who knew all along that what he was doing was wrong, but loved him too much to stop him. The two leave the house, and Maria vows to stay by Aya's side no matter what. We jump forward in time and see that Aya has opened a clinic where she treats people for free. How nice! And then she kills the patients and turns them into dolls. Not nice! As the game ends, we see Maria locked up in a different part of the clinic. She comments that Aya is a lot like her father. Well, this ending is pretty depressing. Aya, after all that we went through, how could you end up following in your father's footsteps? Mad Father can be summarized as a game where 3 girls enable a deranged serial killer all because they love him. In the witch's house, you play as a girl named Viola. You enter, yep, you guessed it, the witch's house. She's trapped inside and has to make her way through the house to find a way out. This game has some pretty terrifying jump scares, to be honest. I have never been more scared of a teddy bear in my life. Anyway, Viola solves puzzles and escapes death traps as she explores the house. And at one point, she makes friends with a frog. Look how cute he is. The frog stays with Viola and helps her. Later, they happen upon a door with a monster on the other side that will eat anything that enters. Oh my god! Viola! Why would you do that? Throughout the house, Viola finds notes written by the witch, Ellen. She says that she is very sick, to the point that she's bedridden. This led to her parents not caring about her, and she ended up all alone. The final note you find in the game says that Ellen made a friend named Viola, and she wants to use her magic to swap bodies with her so she can finally live a normal life. She's right behind you, isn't she? Ellen chases Viola outside, but Ellen is near death at this point. It's clear that she won't last long. Oh. Yeah, so it turns out that this whole time we were playing as the witch Ellen. Ellen already stole Viola's body. Well, that explains why she brutally murdered that frog. Viola agreed to swap bodies with her friend Ellen for just one day, so she could spend some time living in a body that wasn't sick before her inevitable passing. But then, Ellen just stole her body. Viola gained the witch's magic in Ellen's body, and tried to stop her as she made her way through the house, but in the end, she failed. Viola's father arrives, and sees Viola in Ellen's body. He thinks it's a monster trying to harm his daughter. He shoots her, killing her, and he and Ellen head home together. Oh my god, that's so sad! This is not a feel-good game, that's terrible! If you thought that the end of The Witch's House was a gut punch, well, Well, buckle up for Misao. Now, I do want to give a major trigger warning for SA in this game. I will not say too much or go into detail, but if you don't want to hear any of that, then go ahead and skip to this timestamp. So, when I was a teenager, I thought that Misao was one of the scariest games ever. This is mostly because there is a jump scare in it that terrified me. For years, I would think about this jump scare and how awful it was. Now, let me go ahead and show you this terrifying jump scare. Yeah, I don't know why I thought that was scary. When I went through this game again, I was all prepared for this super scary jump scare, and then it was that. That is not scary. Okay, anyway, on to the story. You play as a high school girl that you can name whatever you like. We learn that there's a girl in her school named Misao that she always wanted to be friends with, but she went missing a few months ago. Then your school gets cursed and overrun with monsters and death traps. That sure escalated quickly. You run into the principal and, hey, wait a minute. I know you! Yeah, this game was made by the same people who made Mad Father. That means you get to hear this again. Anyway, you're told that Misao has cursed the school as revenge for what happened to her, and you're the only one who can stop it, since you always wanted to be her friend and had no ill will towards her. In order to stop the curse, you have to find all of Misao's body parts and place them on these altars. Okay, that got really dark really fast. As you search the school for body parts, you see Misao take revenge on several of her classmates. Eventually, you stumble upon your best friend, Ayaka, and your teacher, Mr. Soda. Mr. Soda is like, oh, your friend isn't feeling well. You should go get some tranquilizers for her so she can rest. And you're like, yeah, sure. Really? Are we stupid? When you get back, Mr. Soda, did you kill Ayaka? We're really just gonna believe that? Okay. Then he's like, oh, by the way, I have Misao's hands. Here you go. Mr. Soda, did you kill... You know what, whatever, moving on. Now that you have all of Misao's body parts, the only thing left to do to stop the curse is to offer up a sacrifice. The only two people left alive at this point are Mr. Soda and Toma, a boy that Misao had a crush on. I wonder which one we should kill. Obviously, you kill Mr. Soda. This is when we're shown everything that happened to Misao. She was bullied a lot, and her childhood best friend, Kudo, started ignoring her and refusing to help her because he wanted to fit in with the popular crowd. Then Misao started dating the school player, Toma. This makes one of her classmates, Saotome, jealous, and she prints out all of the flirty texts that Misao sent him and posts them on the school bulletin board to embarrass her. And then Misao catches her fooling around with Toma. Afterwards, her classmate, Yoshino, who also likes Toma, gangs up on her with some friends and beats her up. She takes some inappropriate pictures of her and then has a boy force himself on her, and if she fights back, she'll release the pictures. Mr. Soda later happens upon Misao crying. He comforts her for a while before he then forces himself on her. She resists, which makes him mad, so he kills her and chops her up. Yeah, this story gets really dark and upsetting very fast. I honestly can't say I blame Misao for her revenge. The curse is now lifted, and you and Toma survive the horrors. There is then a truth ending unlocked after this. All of Misao's bullies are being tortured by their guilt, and Misao herself, in the afterlife. You must help them let go of their guilt, and help Misao forgive them so that her soul can move on. Okay, I'm fine with forgiving some of them, but did Misao really need to forgive Yoshina? Can we just leave her like this? Then we see this whole backstory about Mr. Soda. They try to make you feel bad for him by showing you that he was bullied as a kid, rejected by a girl, and saw a cat die. You know, it's funny. A lot of people had those same three things happen to them. And you know what they didn't do? What Mr. Soda did to Misao. Then you have to hug him and be like, hey, you're our amazing teacher that we all love. We accept you. Speak for yourself. I don't accept him. And Misao should not be forced to forgive her murderer in order to move on. Like, does anyone else feel weird about the fact that you basically have to tell Misao, yeah, everything that happened to you was horrible, but you need to get over it? Anyway, the game ends with Misao moving on and this cute picture. The final game that we'll be talking about today is Ao Oni. Now, I'm going to keep this section pretty short because I've actually already talked about this game in 2 other videos. And after those, I had a bunch of people that wanted me to basically become an Ao Oni channel and make a bunch of videos on it. I honestly had no intention of ever talking about this game again on this channel, until I came up with this video idea, and now I have no choice. So here is the very quick rundown. You play as Hiroshi, a boy who heads to a mysterious mansion with his friends. They heard rumors that a monster lives in the mansion and came to check it out, as teenagers do. However, once inside, they're locked in and get split up. Hiroshi looks for a way to escape the mansion, all while being chased by the Ao Oni. I know he looks pretty ridiculous, but when he pops up out of nowhere and the scary music starts playing, it is terrifying. Unfortunately, the Ao Oni kills all of Hiroshi's friends and turns them into purple monsters. Looking good, Takeshi! We're given one of the greatest scares in RPG horror in this game, in my personal opinion. Okay, no, not that, though that is terrifying in its own way. I mean when your friend Takuro joins your party, and when you open your inventory, you see that he's turned into an Ao Oni and starts chasing you. In the end, Hiroshi escapes the house, and that's it. You don't really learn the answers of any of the mysteries surrounding the mansion or the Ao Oni. You just leave, and that's it. So now that we have revisited all of these classic RPG horror games, it is time to answer the question, which one is the best? Well, I don't know. Hey, I never claim to have the answer. All of these games are amazing and special in their own ways, and everyone is going to think a different one is best due to nostalgia and what they like in a game. Now, I can give you my personal ranking of these games, but it's just that, my personal opinion, which will likely be different from yours. Now, in first place for me is Ib. I love the setting so much. I think we need more games set in a haunted art gallery because it's just so creepy. I really love the story of Ib, Garry, and Mary, the relationship, and the ending. Also, I still love Garry, which gets this game bonus points. In second place is Mad Father. I really like how story-focused this one is and how scary it can get. I mean, that chase scene at the end is actually kind of terrifying, and the ending really hits you hard. My third place goes to Misao. Out of all of these games, this story is the one that affected me the most. I will never forget the horror I felt when everything that happened to Misao was revealed. The main reason it's in the middle of the list, though, is for the true ending where you have to forgive Mr. Soda. That really rubbed me the wrong way. In fourth place is The Witch's House. I love the ending, but there really isn't much story throughout the rest of the game, aside from some notes you find. And in last place is Ao Oni. This is easily one of the scariest games on this list, but the story is just kind of non-existent. The game ends, and all you really know is that the Ao Oni killed all your friends and turned them into purple monsters. And yeah, that's my personal ranking, which is, of course, very biased. I mean, Ib was my favorite of these games as a teenager, and I loved watching different people play it. So obviously, nostalgia won at the top spot on my list. As for the rest of the list, it's easy to see that I value story and characters above all else. So the more invested I was in the story, the higher the game ranked. I'm sure some of you don't care about story at all. You might value the gameplay or how scary each of these games are. You're probably nostalgic for different games than me. So in the end, we all have a different answer to the question of which classic RPG horror game is the best. And to me, that just goes to show how great all of them are. I would love to know which one is your favorite or your ranking of all of these in the comments below. And yeah, with that, I hope that you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane. I know that these games have a special place in so many of our hearts, so I thought it would be fun to revisit them and we could all share which one is our favorite. In addition to letting me know what your ranking of these games is, also let me know what other games or media you want me to make a video on. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to see more content from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!